When a human baby is born, it has about 270 soft bones. As he or she grows, these bones become bigger and harder, and some of them will fuse together. As such, a fully grown adult skeleton has fewer bones than an infant skeleton, just 206. It could argue that the most important part of the human skeleton is the skull. The 22 bones found there act as a kind case that protects the brain. The smallest human bone is also found here. It is called the stapes, and it is part of the ear. It measures 2.5 to 3.3 millimeters in length. The only part of the skull that humans can move is the jaw, which is made up of two bones, the mandible and the maxilla, and forms the framework of the mouth. On today's show we talk to Robert and Jenny Fox, a British couple who successfully left behind their high-powered marketing careers in London to move to Italy and take over a rundown vineyard. We'll be hearing about just what exactly inspired them to make such a bold move, as well as some hilarious stories of their initial ordeals with learning the language and culture and the mistakes they made while trying to get their new venture off the ground. Of course, they did manage to get their business up and running, and we'll also be trying some of their award-winning produce and learning a little bit about what it takes to make a world-class vintage. Rob and Jenny, welcome. Learning a language in the classroom is never easy and, quite frankly, it's not the way that most people would choose to learning. They had other options. Having said that, there are plenty of reasons for keeping languages on the school curriculum. For one thing, a fair number of students go on to take jobs in business and commerce that require a basic knowledge of second language. When you talk to young employees in top companies, it seems that they had a career plan from the start. They were motivated to find additional things to put on their CVs, and of course language is one of those added, but significant extras. We'll look now at a very interesting study. It was carried out by a researcher who works in two countries, Scotland and Italy, and it involved children from both of these countries aged around 9 or so. Half of the children from each country spoke only their national language. However, the other half spoke their national language plus another language. During the study, all the participants were given tests and quizzes which looked at a range of skills, including vocabulary understanding, problem-solving, creative thinking, and arithmetic. The children used their national language to complete the tasks, which involved things like copying patterns of colored blocks, orally repeating a series of numbers, and giving clear definitions of words. The results were quite clear. The bilingual children were more successful in the tasks. This week, we're going to be continuing our discussion of women in society. Last week, we looked at a number of issues relating to women in education. If you remember, we discussed women both at school and at university. Today we're going to be considering the roles that women play in the workplace. Again, we'll start by taking a historical perspective, and inevitably you'll find that many of the same events that impacted on women in education also had a major influence on their working lives. In the second half of the lecture, I'll concentrate on this situation in Europe today, and I'll invite you to suggest how you think things are likely to develop over the next blank decade. Okay. So let's get started. An important question about education is, then, why do some types of students achieve success easily and others struggle to do well? Well, one theory is that there is a genetic reason for academic achievement. What I mean by that is, a certain innate, measurable level of intelligence. Another frequently discussed theory is environmental factors, such as the effect of home and family upbringing. A learning process within educational institutions, and the way it is organized. Final reason is related to the teaching and administered and honored. The assignment that I'm going to set for the holiday period is one that we've given students for a number of years. It's quite blank practical and will allow you to get out and about. It's no good being shut up in your rooms all the time. It does have a written element, too. Basically it's a data gathering exercise, and there are two choices with regard to how you collect. We'll go through those in a moment. I'm also going to give you a link to an internet site that is, well, it's critical that you review this before you do anything, as it provides a lot of guidance on data presentation, both in terms of how you plot it, its diagrammatic form, and also its description, which has to be clear. Before farming was introduced into Scotland, people jived by hunting, fishing, and gathering wild foodstuffs. This way of life meant that they usually didn't settle permanently in one place, but were to an extent nomadic, moving about in search of a livelihood, perhaps returning to the same places at certain times of the year. It is believed that the islands of Orkney were known to these people, but, so far, only a few flint tools have been found to verify this. This is because coastal erosion has destroyed many ancient sites, and these may have contained relics of some of these earliest pioneering colonists. Ocean has been getting. That's because the ocean has been getting bluer, according to a study published in the journal Nature. But that's not really good news for the planet. It means that the plants that give the ocean its green tint aren't doing well. Scientists say that's because the ocean has been getting warmer. However simple or complex the chain of events in any given situation, when looked into it usually reveals a train of causal relationships. They are seen to be linked in some way. The methods of analysis aim to establish these relationships and provide a solid background for useful generalizations based on what at first appear to be separate events. The first step in this process is to collect facts and then see if any particular patterns emerge. If they do, it then becomes possible to form theories related to the facts, and this type of empirical theory forms a useful basis for analysis and prediction. However, on its own this theory is not enough. The essential second step is to test it by collecting more facts and by checking predictions against events. These new facts may mean you have to modify the theory, bearing in mind that new facts can only either disprove or support a theory. They cannot prove it to be right.